Hey, how you doing? I'm Joe Askren with Dr. Joe Brews. We are making a New Zealand Pilsner today. We are on the USF Sarasota campus. This is our brewing lab. This is where we teach our classes. We have the claw hammer system today. It's incredible. It's a 240 volt, 30 amp system. So we got in today on campus, brought all the ingredients on campus here. I'm going to show these ingredients to you in a little bit. And then we're just going to go step by step and just show you the process and how we use this awesome system. And maybe we'll do another video of a tasting of this beer. So hope you enjoy this video.
So the claw hammer has a 20-gallon capacity. That's the control unit there, all the hoses, hot basket, everything comes together and it's just fabulous. So I'm heating up the water. I add 10.5 gallons of distilled water. We'll add the salts later. I'll show you that in the recipe. But I wanted to show you that heating element, which is underneath the basket. The basket will eventually be put inside, but the heating element never touches the grain. And then it has that little covering over the port there. You see that? And the inside bottom there, it covers it, keeps it very clear. And when you transfer, it's very helpful. The control unit's very easy to use. I'm just setting the temp to 148 for the mash in. And you can also control the percentage of power. You can go from 80 to 90 to 100% power. So all very easy to use. You also can control the pump. The pump is plugged into the same unit there. And of course the probe goes to the bottom of the kettle to tell you the temperature reading.
So this is our recipe, and again, I got it from the Claw Hammer website. I actually found it on the YouTube page first, and I'm just going to take you through all the ingredients that we have. So we're starting off, we have about 10.5 gallons, 10.4 gallons to be exact, of distilled water, and we added, as you can see, the calcium chloride, gypsum, Epsom, and some baking soda and chalk. We're going to add that to it, and we have about 10.5, almost 10.5 pounds of German Pilsner malted barley, and also some carapils, and then some white wheat malt. Okay, I've got that all right here. I had to make a couple different changes just to get to that, but this is pretty darn close. I got this from morebeer.com. Our hops today, we have some Nelson Sauvin. We also have some Atwek, as you can see, and we have a Rawaka brand. Again, all three of these are New Zealand hops. And then this is the yeast we're going to be using, the German lager yeast 830, again from White Labs, and we also ordered that through morebeer.com. All this came to me in a box, and we are ready to mash in. I think our temp is up at 148. Got the star sand here, mixing in it with 3 gallons of water, and we'll be good to go on that. All right, so these are all the salts we're going to put into the distilled water. We used distilled water, and that was put into the mash tun, brought it up to 148, and then we're just going to add, we're going to measure out all of these salts here. We have gypsum, which is calcium sulfate, some baking soda, calcium chloride, some chalk, which is calcium carbonate down there, and then some Epsom salt, which is magnesium sulfate. So we're going to measure all those out on the scale, and then add those to the water, and then we'll be ready to mash in.
This scale that I'm using is great. It's very sensitive. It goes down to the 100th place in grams, and I'm just adding it all to the 1 ramekin you see there. That'll then add to the water. I always like to whisk it in because the chalk doesn't want to sort of blend into the water, so I give it a good whisking here in a second.
All right, so we are ready to mash in here. So we have our base malt here, which is a really good German Pilsner malt, and then the carapils and the white wheat malt. And it's really important to stir everything thoroughly to prevent any dough balls from forming. Now I'm going to show you. I'm going to hook up the pump and the hoses. I'm going to show you how we recirculate through the mash. So we're going to set the timer for 1 hour. Okay, we're going to mash this for 1 hour. I think I'm pretty good. I got all the dough balls out of here, if I had any. And there we go. So we're all good. It's really important to properly mix it so you don't have any like clumps, or we call them dough balls when we brew. Yeah, so we've hooked up these hoses. So it's coming out of the bottom of the mash tun through the pump. The pump is on and it spritzes through the lid here. And as you can see, it's spraying wort right back down onto the top of the bed there. So it's a really good recirculation. And that's gonna really help us get out all these incredible sugars that we're gonna get to feed the yeast. And again, we have amylase in there activated right now. All right, so I have working on measuring out my hops here. I need another 0.6 of Tueca. Almost there. This is a great scale. It's very super sensitive. We're like right there. Okay, so then let me just show you what I have here. I have, this is the Tueca it's going into. It's kind of a blend. I'm doing 2.26. I'm gonna go backwards. 2.26 of all three of these hops. The Tueca, and then the Nelson Sauvin, and then the Rowaka. Okay, that's in the whirlpool. So that'll be when we whirlpool before we then from our boil transfer into our fermenter. Okay, at 5 minutes, again working backwards here. 5 minutes we have a Tueca, and then we have a 30-minute hop addition right at the beginning. Okay, so we'll start with the 30, and we're only going to do a 30-minute boil. So we'll start with 0.6 of the Tueca, and we'll go on to 5 minutes, and we'll do another hop addition 5 minutes with the left in the boil, and then at the end when we whirlpool we'll add all three. Okay, perfect. So a little bit for bitterness, for aroma, and flavor at the end there. So this is an interesting recipe because it's just a 30-minute boil. Most of the recipes we do here at the lab, they're an hour. Most of the styles we've ever done here have been an hour boil. This is actually the first lager that we've ever made. So excited to see how this turns out. All right, we are coming down to the end of the mash stage. Again, it's blinking because I'm filming here, but it's actually 170. We raised the temperature up to 170, so it's just called the mash out, and we're going to kill the amylase basically. So I think we've gotten all the sugar we can out of it, so it's doing nice, and we'll take a specific gravity reading in a second. So yeah, we are draining out the wort. So this basket just lifts up like this, and you put these little clips in here, and it elevates it and keeps it suspended over the mash tun there. And so I just disconnected all the pumps. Gonna wait a couple minutes. I turned the temperature up to 212. Again, you can't see that due to the video, but you can kind of see it, but it's 212. I raised it up to 212 for the boil, and we are moving on. So should be up to a boil in about 5, maybe 10 minutes. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna add some firm cap to the top of this wort, which is now starting or getting close to boiling. So this is just there's a little bit of seaweed in here, I think, and some other things. We just put a few drops in here, and that's gonna keep it from boiling over, okay? So what's going on right now is it's getting so hot in there because I have it at a boil. It's coming up to a boil. It's about 187 degrees, coming up to about 212. And when it does that, there's something called hot break, H-O-T, hot break. And that's just the proteins denaturing, clumping together, and that makes the surface area pretty heavy and thick because everything's clumping together. So this firm cap will loosen it up and keep it from boiling over, which is will save you a mess. So not too big of a concern on this beautiful 20-gallon claw hammer system, but it still can happen if you're brewing at home and have a much smaller distance, right, gap between the surface level of the wort and the top of the pot. That could be an issue. All right, so we are at a boil, and it might pick up a little bit in aggressiveness as far as it becoming even more of a powerful boil, but we're gonna go ahead and add the Tueca hops. So this is a 30-minute hop addition here, and again, we're only gonna boil for 30 minutes, so onward. All right, now we're ready to add our second edition of Matueka, and I also have a roll flock tablet in there too, and that's going to help sort of clarify it during the boil here and sort of bring all the proteins together. We'll get a little foggy in there. All right, so put that in there, and good to go. All right, at this point, we are done with the boil. We're gonna kill the heat. So the heat is out, and we'll set up for the whirlpool here. So I've got the pumps coming back on, and we're gonna whirlpool it and make our third hop addition, which is the combination of the 2 hops we already measured. All right, so just be right back for the whirlpool here. All right, so we have the pump on, and I've set it up where we just have the hose coming off down into the pot, and as you can see, there's a little current going there, so that's the whirlpool. Again, heat is off, and we're going to add these last 2 hops here. Again, the first 2 hop additions, one was at 30-minute, one was at 5-minute, and they were boiling, so those were isomerizing. There's some isomerization going on there. This is just a whirlpool hop. The heat is turned off, so this is going to be for mostly for flavor and a little more aroma there. All right, so maybe let this run for about 5-10 minutes, whirlpool here, and then we'll come back and start to chill down. Just wanted to talk a little bit about the whirlpool. So the whole idea on that is we have the heat is off, and we're just whirlpooling this. We're spinning the wort here to help form that conical shaped mass, which will collect all the any sort of particulates we have in the protein. We've been collecting the hops in the basket here, so it shouldn't be too bad. But again, this is just maybe a 5-10 minute process. We'll turn off the pump, let it settle, and then we'll begin to chill the wort and prepare it to get into the fermenter.
All right, so now we are chilling down the wort. The whirlpool is over, and we're bringing this black hose. We're bringing just groundwater from the faucet outside in through the plate chiller, out through the green hose there, and down the drain. Okay, and then the other connections we have is taking our hot wort, which is from our boil kettle, taking it through the pump and then through the plate chiller side by side with the groundwater. And so we're chilling this down, and I let it go, kind of recycle back into the boil kettle here, and then eventually it will go into this fermenter. So the fermenter, SS Brew Tech fermenter, it's a half barrel setup here. As you can see, I've got some glycol lines that I'm going to eventually connect to our glycol machine over there. That'll help regulate the temperature so we can make this lager. Okay. There's our porter, our smoked porter from the last class. That's about done. It's cold crashing right now. It's a lot further ahead than this lager here. But eventually this cool down wort will go into the fermenter. So now is a very critical stage here, because as this cools down, we'll begin entering the danger zone. So we want to make sure that everything is properly sanitized, of course, and we're just watching everything we're touching so we're not contaminating. But eventually we'll go right into the fermenter, have a nice cooler temperature for the yeast. We'll pitch the yeast, and then we'll just put it to sleep and hopefully come in tomorrow and see some bubbling going on. Yeah, so just a couple minutes I was talking there, it's dropped down to 142 degrees, so we're certainly in the danger zone here, but we want to make sure that we keep everything sanitized. But it's cooling down rather quickly. I'm going to go ahead and put a lid on this, sanitize and put the lid on here just to make sure we're keeping it all sanitized as best we can.
Yeah, so again, the sanitation is so important. So I'm spraying the lid here. In that bottle, I have some phosphoric acid sanitizer. It's called Star San. It's what you saw before when I was showing it to you. So just putting the lid on there while about preparing to transfer it into the fermenter. So again, spraying the lid, keep my hands clean. I'm taking the blow-off line here off. Now I pre-sanitized this fermenter earlier, but I'm just doing one last sort of hit of sanitation. And now I'm taking the hose that goes from the plate chiller into the fermenter, and it's I have it open up at the top, and just spraying the heck out of the hose and the entry there. And it's purposely open there because I'm splashing on purpose the wort going into the fermenter. It's important to put a little bit of oxygen in there, so I like how it sort of enters into the top of the fermenter, splashes on the sides. That's going to help me out. It's going to help the yeast to get that little bit of oxygen in the beginning of the fermentation.
So I'm making sure everything is tight here. So right now we are going right into the fermenter. I think I'm at a cool enough temp that once I connect it to the glycol machine, we will cool down even more, get to the high 70s maybe, and then we'll be ready to go. So we are looking good so far, so far. Always want to make sure all my everything's tightened on here. You know, these butterfly clamps are all tightened down, and if they aren't, you'll know right away. Right? Everything looks good. So we have transferred the wort into the fermenter, and I took some of the wort and I reserved some of it just to test the specific gravity, and this is a refractometer. So I lost my little pipette, so I'm just gonna spoon it on here on the glass and then close this up. You then hold it up to your eye. There's a little eyepiece there. You look through there and it'll tell you the specific gravity. It'll also tell you the Plato too. But looking at this, I see in the refractometer, I see 1045, so that's slightly lower than the 1048, but I think that's, you know, that's good enough. And then it'll decrease as it starts to ferment. And then we'll just, at the very end of the brew, when we start to keg it, we'll take another reading using a hydrometer, and then we'll put those two numbers into the calculation to figure out the ABV. Okay, so I have it connected to the glycol machine. It needs to come down a decent amount until I pitch the yeast, just to be safe. And so that those glycol lines, they pull chilled glycol water solution from this reservoir, pump it up into this coil, which goes down into the wort, which will eventually become beer. So gonna pitch the yeast in a little bit. Again, this is just a cycle of glycol liquid that comes in and out depending on what temperature you set it at. So it's a really great setup here.
All right, so we are at a really good temperature. We're just below 73 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 22.8 Celsius. So we're gonna pitch the yeast now, and I've sanitized the bag here, and I'll get it set up and I'll show you as I pour it in there. Okay, we're gonna add the yeast to the fermenter, and we're at a really good temp, so we are gonna hope for the best, and hopefully we did everything correct. All right, we'll come back tomorrow and see how this looks.
And just giving it one last ceremonial shake before I let it go to sleep. And hopefully we'll have beer in no time here.
All right, hope you enjoyed today's brew. We did a New Zealand Pilsner. Again, we're gonna eventually do the diacetyl rest down the road, warm it up a little bit, crash it back down. And this is a lager. This is the first lager we've actually made here, so I'm kind of excited. And we got some unique hops in here from New Zealand, and can't wait to see and taste how this beer turns out. Thanks for joining me, folks.